Way back in February, we reached out to Cliff, our Fearless Talks at Google leader, and April Whitney, who's sitting with us today, Theron's publicist at Chronicle, about bringing Maddie and Theron to campus. After months of planning, we are so excited to introduce Maddie the Coonhound and Theron. We just walked around campus with Maddie and Theron and saw her balance on many a thing. We'll be posting those pictures later today.
So you can look for them on Google+. The hashtag is going to be hashtag Maddie on things. So during a year-long trip across country, Theron took pictures of Maddie balancing on everything from a horse to open fridge doors. Some of you might have seen this on his Instagram account, Facebook, all over the web. They have a great website and web presence. So all of this culminated into the book Maddie on Things, which led to Theron's newest project, Why We Rescue. Theron is going to talk about both of those projects today, and after we'll be able to answer some of your questions. Also, if you don't have a copy of Maddie on Things, you can buy yours after the talk in the back from Books Inc. And then we also have some Maddie the Coonhound shirts and stickers. And with that, we would like to introduce Theron and Maddie.
Hey, thanks for having me. So I've been on the road 7 months this year. Last year I went to all 50 states shooting a documentary, and this year we're doing another 50-state documentary, and concurrently with that we're doing a 50-state book tour. So that's like the broad stroke of what I'm up to this year. And the Maddie book tour, hey, that's where I'm on right now. And this Wide Idea was a project, but it's like since then become like my photo brand and my identity. And you got her? Okay. Yeah. So this is the cover of the book. You might have seen it. And the thing that like I want to do and be a part of on the web is be innovative with storytelling. And we also want to do things that are fresh. So like no one goes and does a 50-state book tour, right? Like that's kind of crazy. Like you normally go to LA and Las Vegas and New York City, and you go to these really big places. But what we wanted to do was to go to all the small towns and big cities in between, and we built a really awesome book tour website. It's maddieontour.com. We built it on Meteor. It's a new web technology, and it pulls in data from Instagram and Twitter, and it archives it on this really beautiful website. So if you visit that site, you can see like our path and our story and our time together on the road. You guys are. Is anyone here program? Do you guys know Meteor? Yeah, it's pretty awesome. It's good stuff. I don't know, most of the people I talk to don't like really love technology, so it's cool to. I was actually at Pixar yesterday, and that was weird because I felt like they should be talking to me, just like y'all, because y'all create really neat things. And I'm just taking photos of my dog, you know? I don't know. Okay, I'm terrible at jokes, I guess. But where you come from is really important, and Maddie was a side project to the reason I was traveling. And so like I think the pleasure I have of having this quick platform is I get to tell you what I love in life and what I love to create. And this is where I came from. It's Pollocksville, North Carolina. It's just a screenshot of Google Maps. You might know Jacksonville, there's a military base there, but I grew up on really sandy soil. I grew up on a farm, and that was my home, and I like really hated it. Like I hated where I came from, and but now I love it so much. Maybe that's your story too. And this is the last place that I lived. This is Sandpoint, Idaho, so I haven't had an apartment or house in 3 years. And this is about 6 hours east of Seattle, so like way up in the mountains. It's really beautiful, epic country. And this is like the scale of the country, right? Like America is huge and vast. And I went to school in Savannah, Georgia. I studied photography. And I just like love to show this for scale. And like what happens in life is no one is like really good at explaining that while you're in school, it's essentially a 4-year grant to study what you love, to execute your vision. Because like once you graduate, you quickly realize that you start creating and making stuff for other people to earn them money, to get them rich. And for photography, that is like so apparent. So like I don't show you, this is the stuff I was creating before I started traveling. So like I don't show you this work to impress you. I was shooting product photography for a company called Coldwater Creek. Like, your mom might really love it. My mom loved it. And this is what had me. This is my life for 60 hours a week. And you don't go in the photo studio and you don't shoot, 1 or 2 pairs of handbags. You shoot 35 of these. And you do it Monday through Friday, 60, 70 hours a week sometimes, depending on if it's holiday season. And there's art directors and stylists and photographers. And everyone has this, Sears and Gap and Banana Republic and JCPenney, they all have, this is a whole world of product photography. And so you take something you love, which is for me photography, and you commodify it. And you start pointing your camera at things that you don't love and that you don't believe in. So then what happens is Monday through Friday, this is what you shoot. And then on the weekends, you don't want to pick up a camera. You do something else. You go get drunk or go skiing or backpacking or all three because you're in Idaho. And that really did happen, on the ski hill. That was me skiing right then. You gotta switch the bugs. I grew up in the East Coast, so I didn't grow up skiing. So my first time, when you ski, okay, this is a terrible story, but you just go out there and you think you turn, but then you fall on your butt, but really you have to do this. That's my ski lesson for the day. Okay. Thanks for having me, Google. But this is work that I created that totally changed my life. And what happened was I worked for 2 years and I saved up my whole week of PTO, which is paid time off in the corporate world. And I took my camera, flew back to North Carolina just to visit my granddad. And I pointed my camera at what was familiar, the place I came from. And this is a still life that never changed my entire life. And up in the right-hand corner, there's this great giraffe, and you would press the bottom, and it would collapse over. And that little thing brought me so much peace, just knowing I could always know where it was. That giraffe was always there. So I just pointed my camera at the familiar, and it's documented the place that I came from. This was our tobacco barn rather. And this is where I spent my life. This is where I grew up. This is my grandparents right when they got married, 17 and 18. And I was hanging out with my grandma a couple months ago, and she was telling this story. They didn't have running water in their house until she was 18. They didn't have electricity until they were 16. And for me, that just blew my mind. My life has been so easy. Has anyone not had clean drinking water in the United States? Or ever gone hungry? Our baseline for existing is so easy. And most of the world, those are the reason for waking up, to find clean water and to eat. And for me, I'm just man, life has been so easy. And it was great just sitting down with her and listening to her. I photographed my granddad and recorded his voice. And he told me stories of his life. And this is the tractor that I grew up riding on the back of. I would be on the plow going through the field. They don't really plow fields anymore. It's all no-till farming these days, but I would go through the field with him, and it was so incredible. And it was just really great week. I was back where it came from. I was hanging out with my granddad, and then you fly back to Idaho, and it's hey, Theron, you have 30 pairs of earrings to shoot today. I'm man, this is way less cool than my granddad. Do these even need to exist in the world? That's what I was thinking. And the following day, I got a phone call, and my mom was hey, Theron, your granddad passed away. So literally in a heartbeat, this photograph became more valuable, because you can't sit down with my granddad and record his voice. You can't sit down and take his portrait. So now one day when I have kids, I get to be hey, this is your grandfather. This is what his life was like. This is what his voice sounds like. And I didn't want to be 60 and wake up and be hey kids, this was my story. I was a product photographer. I made a living. I have a big 401k, and here's what I created. I got to this point where I would rather be broke and wake up every morning and create something that I love, that I can be proud of. So what I did, I quit my job. I went to Kickstarter, and I presented this idea that I would travel all 50 states, and every single day of the year as I traversed America and drove 65,000 miles, I would meet someone, I would document their life, I would record their story, and I would share it on the web, on a website that we built. And it was this wild idea, because I was sitting on the sofa in my place, in Idaho, and I called my best friend, and I was like, I want to do something. I was like, man, this is kind of a wild idea. And I was like, is thiswhitidea.com taken? Like, it must be, right? It's such a common phrase, and it wasn't taken. So, we registered the domain, and that's where like the project was born from. And ultimately, this project was National Geographic's Travel Project of the Year, which was this incredible honor at the end of the year, because there's many days it was cold and raining. I was sleeping in the back of my pickup truck, and I was meeting people every day, and it didn't feel like anyone was listening. So at the end, to get a call from the senior photo editor, and she was like, "Hey, Theron, like, come to DC. We want you to talk about your project." I was like, "That's so amazing!" And now she follows me on Instagram, and she likes my photos sometimes, and it's super humbling. It blows my mind that they're like even looking at what I create. But yeah, this was a huge honor. And actually just looked at the analytics. Dogs, love dogs. Actually just looked at the Google Analytics. And this website has had over a terabyte of data pulled off of it in the past like 18 months. And I guess in y'all's world, that's not a lot of data, but for me, just a dude taking photos, and the photos are like 50 to 75K too. So they're not like just huge files. And that was this incredibly, this moment. I was like, wow, somebody's like looking at what I create. And this is what the work looks like. And if you go on the website, thiswhitidea.com, there's 30 to 40 photos for each person. And there's audio, them telling their stories. And I just spent time with people. I walked up to them and I shook their hand and I said, you exist, you matter, you're worthy. I want to celebrate your life. And the way I would look at the project was two ways. The first is, like, when recently has anyone come up to you and been like, what did your grandma cook that you loved? Like, what do you remember about her house? Like, we don't talk and engage with life in that way very often. So that was like my first level of engagement with people. And then they realized I wasn't selling them something, and I wasn't trying to ask them for money. They just welcomed me into their lives, into their homes. And I don't know, it's just incredible when you just walk up to folks and shake their hand. And for me, like, the new measure of making work was that if I feel uncomfortable in my stomach, if it flips upside down, then I need to go do it. So like if you're a creator, if you're a storyteller, and waking up every morning and shooting the Golden Gate Bridge in fog doesn't make you feel uncomfortable, like, I want to encourage you to go shoot something else that does, because I think that's how you really grow as an artist, as a storyteller, an image maker. And I promise you, walking up to a rancher in Wyoming is terrifying. I don't know, maybe that sitting here in Google headquarters doesn't feel like that way, but go out into the world and, walk on someone's land with this interest of wanting to hear their story. It's terrifying in the best of ways. And I think the best way to think about my work in this project, I tell this whole story, and it connects to Maddie because this is the reason why the Maddie book exists. She was traveling with me for this whole year on the road. And the best way to think about my work is if there's like a box on your front door right now, is delivered, you check the UPS, because that's what I do. I want to know when it's out for delivery. And inside that box was an audio recording, 30, 45 seconds, and 10 photographs of your mom when she was 18. So like someone sat down with her, recorded her voice, what she wanted to do in life, what she was passionate about, what she loved, and then just took a portrait of her, like opened up her fridge and photographed the inside of her fridge, what was in it that day. Now fast forward 30, 40 years later, like, what would those images be worth? Would you want to leave right now to go listen to what she sounded like? I would love to know what my mom sounded like, what she wanted to do with her life. And that's what this work was about. It was about celebrating the everyday, the ordinary. And I don't know. It's so damn simple, but I think it just resonated with folks in the right way. And this is his horse on the ranch. And like the other amazing part of the story is my dog came with me. This is Maddie. And if you've been following for a while, you actually notice she is pointing the incorrect direction. So like I kind of started to fall in love with photographing her this way because I liked her spots better on this side. yeah, and like how Maddie came into my life is and this is her own 4 soup cans, but right before I started traveling, I got on Pet Finder, and I was like, I need a dog for my adventure across America. And Steinbeck had Charlie. I was like, I'm born and raised in the South, I need a coonhound to come with me. So I got on Pet Finder, and the first one that popped up was Maddie. And I was like, oh my gosh, she looks like a deer, that's so amazing. So I went to see her at the shelter that day, and I played with her, and she was fantastic, but very aloof. And as I was walking to put her back into the cage, because I wasn't sure, I was like in my truck for a whole year. So I wasn't gonna be able to leave my dog at home for 8 hours. She was always with me. I was walking back into the cage, and she pressed her body against my leg the whole way back. And I was like, I can't put you back in there, it's so sad. So I walked up to adopt her, and I thought it was gonna be this long paperwork process, and it was $40. I was like, okay, so I own a dog now. It was really quite that simple. It all happened in 6 hours. Pet Finder, visit Maddie, adopt her, now I have a dog in my life. And I had no idea what I was doing. And this is one of the first photos that got a lot of traction on the around the world. People Magazine published this photo, and man, this image actually has a really crazy story. I was in South Dakota, and I was eating lunch on my tailgate. So when you travel with a dog, you quickly realize that you don't eat in a restaurant. You get your food to go, or you get a sandwich, and you eat it on your tailgate, and your dog can run around and play in the woods. And I was on some land on a dirt road, and a big diesel truck passes me, and I was like, oh, I'm on this guy's land, he's gonna get upset. But he tipped his hat at me, so I was like, okay, we're cool, I can be here. And he parked his truck and took his horse out of his trailer. And I got that feeling inside my stomach. I was like, I need to go engage with this guy and shake his hand, and I wanna hear his story. And I walked up to him, I was like, hey, I'm Theron, this is my dog, Maddie. And I was like, my dog's really good at standing on things. Could she stand on your horse? And really common thing to do. And he looks at me in the eye, and he goes, I know who you are. I've seen you in People Magazine. I was like, that's so crazy. I was in the middle of nowhere, South Dakota, and he had seen the work. But yeah, I think this is just what you do when you travel for an entire year with your dog, maybe a mother with a new child. And yeah, the work grew out of just her natural talent and desire to climb things, get up on trees, on rocks. Yeah, and I think the other thing that really I came to love was the entire book is shot on the iPhone 4. So every image inside it is iPhone 4, which is kind of crazy. And here's the other really insane thing about it. So Instagram came about this time when I was doing this project, so 2 years ago, and I didn't have a community of people around me. I was on the road by myself using this app. So I didn't shoot through the native camera and then upload it. I was shooting literally through the Instagram app. So I have one photo of each of these moments, and there's no outtakes or alternative frames on the other side. So it's literally one image, much like a Polaroid. So I just thought that's how you're supposed to use it. You get one take, much like you literally would a Polaroid photo, which is really crazy to think about now. I would never shoot like that these days. But it was so great. Just you get into respond to shape and line in space. This is Portland, Oregon at Voodoo Donuts. And then it's I don't know, put your dog in the basket, and it makes a photo better. You guys are totally unsure of everything I'm talking about up here. But this is an incredible example of why you should never eat inside a restaurant, because you miss the woman with poodles on her sweater. And I was sitting under a tree eating, and she was walking by, and I was like, can my dog sit on your walker? And she's like, yeah, sure. And then Maddie's like, no big deal, I can do that. And then you take a photo, and you upload it instantly to the internet, and then it just happens so quickly, just like that. Yeah, and in my mind, I was like, what would the mailman do if he opened, the mailbox, and there's this dog in there? And so many of the photos has happened on a whim. Like my friend jokingly opened both doors to the fridge. I was like, oh, Maddie should stand up there. And then, you place her, stay Maddie, and take a photo, upload it, and then give her a treat. And so like all these images is, I think it's like kind of just like happened so quickly. Like I literally took the photo and then uploaded it, within like 10 seconds of making the image, and then like 500,000 people see that image on their phone. And it just blows my mind, that idea that the image goes into space and then it comes back to people's phones and they share this moment with you. Like my dog was here on the Golden Gate Bridge. I don't know. I'm not articulating the idea that well, but it's just special. Yeah, we celebrated birthdays on the road together, and she was always with me. So you start to do weird things with your dog, I think. I was like driving, I was like, hey Maddie, I think it's your birthday. And then it's like, what were you gonna do? I was like, I don't know, let's get you a birthday hat. And then you're in the dollar store and you see this little banner and you're like, I don't know, let's take a photo. And this is, I'm not a crazy dog person, I promise. I don't know, maybe I am. This is the levee in New Orleans. This is the levee that broke down there. It's my good buddy Michael Tucker. And like I love showing this image, but I think conceptually what's fascinating about photography is often what you choose not to show in the frame is more important and more valuable than what is in the frame to create a story. So what I mean by that is like the basketball goal is cranked down low, but literally right outside the frame is my pickup truck that has a camper shell. So Maddie's only about a foot off the ground. So like I never like intentionally try to create work that like upsets people, but like I also don't want to be that guilty of like photographing cliches. So like just shooting my dog on a beach during a sunset. But historically, like another example of including things in the frame and not including them is a famous image by Dorothea Lange during the FSA during the Great Depression. There's this migrant mother image of her and her child, but she intentionally in the darkroom photoshopped. That's a weird analogy, saying darkroom and Photoshop together. But she, in the darkroom, took out the husband's hand. So it created this like story of this destitute woman and her child by herself without like the strong man there with her. So the idea of it not including something in the photograph is just as valuable as what you do show. So I don't always think about photography like that, but the frames are really strong. Yeah, I don't know. Maddie, can you stand across this? And then she's like, yeah, no big deal, I can do that. And then you take a photograph of it. And just like waking up with that Maddie every single day. Like I really wish I could just print this image huge on my wall and, you okay, Maddie? She's like, why am I all the way in the back? Maddie is not a leash dog, and I think Google is a leash campus. We normally spend most of our days in open fields in the woods, so she just wants to explore. Yeah, and just driving with my dog, spending time with her, and the work evolved and changed over time. She's such a good sport and a good subject. And then like you just be walking by like a garage and just like responding and hey Maddie, yeah, and just responding to objects. And you see this Easy Rider helmet in the garage, and it's like you start asking questions like, can Maddie wear this helmet? And quickly the answer is yes, she can wear the helmet. And it's the photograph, and then just waking up with her, spending time with Maddie. It's my buddy Monil. So like I like fell in love with this idea of like how like dog and man like melt together, and you start just exploring that. It's come so simple. Like he was laying on the couch like just like kind of being silly, fake sleeping, and I was like, oh, Maddie should lay on top of you. And then I started asking this question of like, how would Maddie wave to me if she could? Like, I don't think she would use her paws. Like, what if she could control her ears? It would be so wonderful if she could do that. So that's where the work came from. And then, we were at South by Southwest where this tour started some 7 months ago, and we were at my buddy's house, and I saw his guitar case, And I was like, oh, Maddie should totally sit in it. So I told her to sit and then lay down, and then she just fell asleep in the case. And I was like, okay, you can stay there if you want to. Coonhounds like totally love to curl up in small balls and get in tiny places. And then this is definitely one of my favorite images, and no, they're not chocolate sprinkles, so you don't have to email me afterwards, but it's, I was like, Maddie like does everything like all in, and I feel like if she was like wanting ice cream, she would just like dive her face into the bowl of ice cream. And then, you know, you're in the grocery store and you're walking by the pineapple and you think of the Chiquita Banana Woman, you're like, could Maddie wear a pineapple? And then you buy a pineapple and the answer is yes, she can wear a pineapple. Hey, Maddie, hey. And man, she's such a good sport and such a good model. I just love that little bit of tongue. And that's like what becomes like really great about photography is like often it hinges on like one tiny element and tiny moments. So like with this image, if her tongue wasn't sticking out, it would like lose so much of the power and like what made it special. The other really scary thing about photography, I've been thinking about more of it recently, is like when you sit down to edit your photos after you shot, you know, the day or the concept, and you're going through them and you get to the last photo and you choose that image. Like it makes me so nervous. Like what if I didn't shoot that one more frame? What if I didn't click once more? I'm like, am I teetering like that much on life where it's just like this half of a second decision to, like, cause so often you're like, okay, I got it. I got this photo. And you're like, no, one more. And then you choose that. I'm like, oh, it makes me so anxious to think about if I didn't shoot that photograph. Insights into my mind. And this photograph has a crazy story on the web. So for the book tour we're on right now, we were shooting the video for it to promote it, and we were in the store, in the cafe rather, and I was thinking Seinfeld. So at the end of the shoot, I was like, oh, let's pour Maddie a cup of coffee, asked her to sit on the stool, put her paws up. My buddy started pouring coffee. I'm shooting with my phone, and she starts yawning. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing! Because you couldn't recreate this photograph if you had $100,000. It's just so serendipitous. And this photo took on its life of its own. This is just a tiny example, and they're ultimately really great folks, but So Delicious, they took the photo, they like poorly photoshopped their product into it and like put it out there on the web. So this like really just like blatant and like disrespectful use of photography and like breaking copyright laws, and it just really broke my heart. And I was like, well, let's turn this bad situation into something really good. So I went to Facebook and I was like, wouldn't it be great if So Delicious donated $10,000 to an animal shelter for stealing my photo? And through a couple of phone calls I received from So Delicious, they're like, that's gonna be the greatest idea ever, Theron, let's do that. Just because by law they would have been on the hook for a lot more. And then through about 6,000 suggestions and tweets and emails later, So Delicious did give 10 grand to a shelter in Chicago that puts elderly animals into good homes, which is like a super tough sell in that world if you're involved in animal rescue or adoption at all. So this year, concurrently with this 50-state book tour we're doing, I was like, this isn't quite easy enough. I was like, let's shoot another 50-state documentary. So like the way like the way that I look at photography and creating work is Maddie is this beautiful pop song, and it's fun, and it's like a catalyst and an entry to my other work. And then I want to create documentaries and shoot projects that are driven by the heart and much more salt of the earth and have personal value and social value. So, I didn't intentionally get into the dog world, but what I quickly realized is I didn't want my place to be showing sad dogs behind sad cages, because Maddie was a rescue dog at a high kill shelter and she changed my life. And I don't want to promote the idea that these dogs in your local shelter are bad dogs or abused or not worthy of your home. Because the truth is, 2 out of 3 dogs in America that still find homes in America aren't from shelters or rescue groups. And I just want to suggest and tell the story that if you're looking to bring an animal into your life, go to the Humane Society, go to the animal shelter, go to your local rescue group and check those dogs out. And this is what the project is about. It's a storytelling and spending time with people and celebrating their life And yeah, if you go to whywerescue.com, as every state we traverse America, there's a news story posted, and there's audio and photography. And I think the other great thing about creating projects at this scale, so like so much of the internet is a hot flash. It's like boom, bang, here's your ad, here you go. But when you create work like this, that's over the course of an entire year. People can invest in it, they can check back with it once a week. There's always a new story to be posted there. And so I think people get much more invested and in tune with the project and the spirit of what you're creating instead of just being something fleeting. So, you know, that's kind of like how I look at photography now and on the web. So like build an awesome custom website, build it so it works great on mobile, and then invest in it over a year. That's what I'm into. This is, you know, just telling stories. And this is my really good buddy, Garrett, AKA Really Kind of Amazing on the Instagrams, if you use that. And so this year has been super expensive for us. So we're driving 40, 50,000 miles. And the way that we're supplementing our gas bill is ourselves, we hand screen printed some really nice t-shirts. So if you are into Maddie, I would love to sell you a shirt because it helps out our gas tank so much. Yeah, and they're on like the best shirts made in America. It's good stuff. And then, I love the next slide because I love stickers. And actually, I found this, I think Google used, this is Sticker Robot. I found them because I think y'all have ordered stickers from them before, but they're like the best stickers. They're UV coated. They last like 5 years outside. And we got stickers too, and I think they're super rad. I get pumped on stickers. And this is just a little slide of what I have planned for next year. And this is the book that we're pitching right now. And it's Maddie the Coonhound, a super serious project about a dog and a motorcycle. So the plan is to traverse all of America with a dog, my dog in a sidecar and me on a motorcycle. And we're just gonna go on this adventure. And I think it's just gonna be this like a blast and just a ton of fun. So that's like what we're looking for next year to go create. And then this year, hey, if you do have the book or you wanted it, like I made Maddie's paw print, her literal paw print into a stamp. So I'd love to stamp your book. I would love to sign I can sign my name too. I would like to do that. Yeah, and I would love to like hear what you guys create. I also have suggestions of what you could do better if you need those. I'm just kidding. I don't know, that was a bad joke. Okay, this is being recorded. But yeah, do we have time for, I don't know, if you have a question?
So what is her favorite reward? Some of those pictures, it looks like she was stretched pretty far.
Right, so. Yeah, I mean, Maddie's really just simple, you know, she just, she'll eat anything, you know?
And then have you ever measured, on that one where she's on the handrails, have you ever measured her length? Like how far she can go?
I haven't. I think that was like the ultimate stretch, that one on the handrails. Yeah, but I never put a tape measure to it. Yeah, I guess I need to. But she's about 45 pounds or so. Yeah.
She close her eyes by herself?
Yeah, like it's just like a lot of, I should have some more images up here with that speaking to that, but I guess the sprinkle nose has it. But yeah, it's just a moment I choose to share. So like we were on the Today Show recently, and she was sitting in the stool next to me. I look over and her head's down, her eyes closed, and she's just sleeping. I was like, oh, Maddie, that's great. But yeah, it's just like a moment like within the time of I'm taking the photo that she just like zens out and like just shuts her eyes. I don't know, I always thought it was like super cute. So that's why I choose to share those images. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
So how did she come to the shelter, and how old was she when you adopted her?
Yeah.
And how long have you had her?
Right, she was about a year old when I got her, and sadly I don't know any of her backstory. She just got dropped off. But her name was Maddie, M-A-D-I, when I rescued her. So I was like, we gotta spell it differently. So I just changed the spelling of it. But yeah, I mean, I would like, one of my Maddie wishes would be to like get to meet her mom and dad and have like puppy photos of her. That'd be so great. So I'm sure she had amazing ears as a puppy, so.
Hi, thanks for coming to hang out with us. I'm sorry we're so quiet and reserved.
It's okay.
I wish we could like be a little closer and like get more into what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I guess my question is, with the Why We Rescue project, you must connect a lot with both specific people who rescue animals and also with organizations.
Yeah.
Do you have any particular stories you want to share about like really magical rescue stories?
Yeah,
or,
actually I don't connect with organizations. It's not, I think they're out there, they're doing really awesome work, but for me, it's about telling the individual stories without affiliation to a group. And for me, I'm just a storyteller, and I want to get people excited about rescuing dogs and then go out and find the organization that makes the most sense for them. But like the stories vary, and the project can be as simple as like waking up and like, I need a dog in my life, and you go to a shelter and you pick one. Like, that's not that profound of a story, but that's like we're celebrating because like you literally change that animal's life in that moment, and that's worthy of documenting and sharing. And then you have other stories on the website where I met this really wonderful girl. She graduated college, was like a little lost in life, like we all have been, or I was as well. And she's like, I need a sailboat. So she spent like $2,000 or $3,000, bought a cheap sailboat, sailed down the Mississippi without knowing how to sail, learned to sail along the way, and brought her dog with her. And that's just like this incredible story, right? Of like risk and adventure and like big question marks. So like, I don't know, if you leave anything from here today, like I just want to encourage you, shake you by the shoulders and say that like choosing not to go on an adventure or to create work that's your vision isn't just a simple yes or no question. If you are choosing to put it off, that's like a whole attitude towards life. It's not just a single moment. Hey Google, thanks so much for having me. It's been a pleasure. Maybe next time we can sit in a circle, I don't know. We can hold hands next time and talk. Yeah. But yeah, thanks so much for having me. Thanks for the venue. I totally appreciate it. Yeah.